Hello everyone! For this video I wanted to change things up a little bit, so you may notice some things are a little different. I'm still learning how to do this, so bear with me till I get settled into a routine. Fairyary is drawing to an end, and I saved the best for last. For the final video of Fairyary, I wanted to take a handful of my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon and give them a whole new look and typing. Since this is a month of Fairy challenges, they will all be gaining the Fairy type, while some may gain a new secondary type as well because it's on theme with the designs I came up with. When I first began this month's challenges, I wanted to make each video idea unique while sticking with the overall theme of Fairy types. It was really tough to pick only a handful of videos to do for this month, so that is why I did 3. So for the final video, I kept the rules simple: Gen 1s only, Fairy typing, and leaning towards more changes than less. I wanted them to be fully realized as their own form while retaining some of their iconic aspects. The first 2 are convergent evolutions, while the final is a regional variant. I changed a lot on these, so hopefully you guys like what I did. When I was deciding on the shortlist for this video, Staryu was at the top for me. I have mentioned before that I love water types, and Gen 1 has a lot of my heart. I had a few ideas when it came to giving Staryu a redesign, but I really wanted to bring it into the modern age. It's a great design, but definitely older, so I looked to space for my inspiration. Introducing Staryu, the visiting Pokemon. When I think modern and futuristic, I think sci-fi in space. So what if Staryu was a star map from space? When I redesigned Staryu into Starview, I was inspired by orreries and comets. If you aren't familiar, an orrery is a moving diagram of a solar system. I've always liked the way they look and could spend hours watching them orbit. Truly a marvel of science and engineering. So I wanted to make sure I really brought that element out in my design. I imagined this convergent evolution crashing to Earth from some far-off solar system. I personally love when Pokemon come from space and think we need more space Pokemon. So for this design, I kept Staryu's shape because it already worked really well as a shooting star, but I made changes to the faceplate to resemble the map of a far-off solar system. For the eye, I took inspiration from suns. Suns come in a wide variety of colors, but for Starview, I went with yellow as it is a common color in the cosmos. I made 3 planets to orbit the center and gave 2 of the planets moons. For the body, I made it crystalline because many gems are found in space, including diamond. I wanted to keep the colors bright so as to really bring that fairy typing out in the design. For the shiny, I gave it a purple crystalline body and turned the faceplate gold. The eye is now pink, but I kept the planets and moons the same because they are the same solar system. Little is known about Starview and where they come from. Many scientists believe the faceplate is a map of their home system. I think this would make a great convergent evolution for Staryu while adding another space Pokemon that we so desperately need. Now that I've shown you Starview, let's see what it could look like when it evolves. This is Starry, the mysterious visitor Pokemon. Starview will evolve into Starry when exposed to a sunstone. When it came to evolving Starview, I knew simply going bigger and better wasn't enough. I had to change it in a way that made it stand out even more as its own unique evolution. I decided to detach the points of the secondary star and have them sort of levitating around it. This gave it a more dynamic appearance that feels truly sci-fi and unknown. This is probably one of my favorite changes I made in this video, right behind the faceplate of both Starview and Starry. For the eye, I decided to keep the round gem instead of a square one, as it represents the sun of that solar system. But imagine that it had grown to a red giant. The solar system is the same 3 planets, but in slightly different orbit. I wanted to give the illusion that the home solar system of both Starview and Starry had gone through major changes, and that's why Starry's faceplate has changed. Sort of like a message depicting the past or future of their home system. The faceplate is now more oval in shape and resembles a compass rose. I wanted to include a compass rose in this design because I feel like it adds a lot of the map feel to the faceplate. I think it worked really well, giving Starry a futuristic yet antique-y vibe. For the shiny, I decided to go green as a callback to Staryu's original shiny. I'm not always a fan of green shinies, but I think this is a great example of how they could be done well. This Pokemon seems to have a curious nature. Scientists can only speculate on how many solar systems it has visited. I think I did a pretty good job of bringing my concepts together for these 2, but what do you think? Moving on to the next Pokemon I redesigned for this challenge, I decided to make another convergent evolution. Machop is an OG for me, even if his Evo line is a bit confusing. I'm not certain what animal was the inspiration behind the Machop line because Machop has a tail that looks very lizard-like, while Machoke has a reptilian face, only for Machamp to gain a duck face? I'm not really sure. It just never really made sense to me from a design aspect. So I wanted to make this line cohesive, making changes to the faces while keeping the body structure mostly the same. When I was doing the change one letter challenge, Machop was on the maybe list, but I couldn't come up with a one letter change for the next two evolutions. I eventually tabled it, and when I decided to do this video for the final challenge, I knew I had to include it. So, introducing Machop, the friendly Pokemon. Despite the things I pointed out in the Machop line's design, I still love Machop in particular. He's an original fighting type that even now still holds up really well as a fighting type. So when I designed Machop, I took all the adoration I have for Machop and tried to make him as cute as his personality is. When I originally came up with this idea, all I really knew is I wanted to make a friendly little guy. Chap is another word for friend, so it was so important to bring that concept out in my design. As I was redesigning him, his new friendly face took on an element of monkey, and when I added the clothes, I was inspired. Mechanics are classically referred to as grease monkeys, so I gave him a monkey tail to complete the look. I changed the types to Steel Fairy because he's a friendly mechanic who just likes fixing things and helping out. His body is a steel blue because he is made of metal himself. I can imagine a trainer that builds new contraptions having a Machop as his best friend Pokemon. For the eyes, I went with pink to help tie in the fairy typing. For the shiny, I went with a classic green and made the overalls yellow. All the mechanics I know wear white or black t-shirts, so that's why I went with those colors. Known for its friendly disposition, Machop spends its time helping young trainers. They are fond of the sound of machinery. So as I said, he was originally in the consideration for my change one letter challenge because I simply made the O an A and chap is another word for friend. But I wanted to keep that naming convention going with the next two evolutions, so this is Mabloke. Now, I did make some drastic changes to Machoke, but I wanted to expand on my concept of a monkey mechanic. I gave him these awesome mutton chops and kept the hat. I gave him a mechanic's jumper as an evolution to his overalls. I wanted to incorporate the cool red patterns on his arms in this design, so I added the patterns to the mechanic's jumper. I kept with the same overall color palettes for both the regular and the shiny, and I rounded the face to be more monkey-like. Machoke already had human feet despite his reptilian face, so I kept the same feet. Just another thing about the original design I didn't quite understand, and I think this would make more sense from a design aspect now because he's evolved as a mechanic and keeps his wrench on hand just in case something needs fixing. This was probably the hardest of the three for me to redesign because Machoke is such a unique Pokemon already. I think the buff body structure plays really well into the idea of this line being strong, helpful mechanics. When there's heavy lifting to be done, it's good to have a Mabloke nearby. They love using their strength to help others. So even though I made some drastic changes to Machoke, I think Mabloke is a pretty cool convergent evolution. The final Evo is of course Machamp. Machamp is already a powerful and unique Pokemon design, having 4 arms, which is a trait not many Pokemon share. I knew evolving Machop into Mabloke would be difficult, but I had at least a good idea of where I was going with this line by the time I reached Machamp. So here's my take on a convergent evolution of Machamp, and keeping the naming convention going, this is Machum. Sticking with the different names for a friend naming convention, Chum is yet another word for friend. I expanded further on my friendly monkey mechanic concept for this design. He has evolved out of his tail because when you have an extra set of arms, you probably don't need the prehensile tail. And if I'm being honest, it's also a bit of a nod towards Dragon Ball. He still has awesome mutton chops, and I gave him a friendly and playful expression. I wanted him to have a look that says, "Out of my way, I can handle this." Most mechanics I know wear baseball caps, so the newspaper boy hat is now a baseball cap. He still has the trusty wrench, but the extra arms don't fit into his jumper, so the top half is tied around his waist. I kept Mabloke's feet since they were already great monkey feet, and Machamp goes down to 2 toes for whatever reason. I stayed in the same color family for both and gave him a classic Machamp pose. A trainer's best friend, Machum will always lend a hand or 4. There is yet to be a mechanical issue they can't fix. Overall, I think I accomplished what I set out to do, and I'm pretty happy with it. Had I given myself more time, I may have done some things different, but one of the challenges of creating YouTube videos is staying on a time schedule. I would definitely end up using Machum if it were real because I love the concept and typing as well. Machap is my child and I would do anything for his adorable face. Before I made this video, I had never considered what a regional or convergent Machop line might look like, but I think this line is a cool idea of what it could be. The final two Pokemon I did for this challenge are probably some of the most iconic and intimidating to do. Magikarp and Gyarados are classic and still loved by many people around the world. I know when I think classic Pokemon, he's one of the first that comes to mind. So I wanted to include Magikarp and Gyarados in this challenge. I saved the best for last, so here it is. Magikarp, the sweet Pokemon. So when I decided to add Magikarp to the list of fairy types, I knew what I wanted to pull inspiration from. Swedish redfish are not only one of my favorite candies, but they come in a variety of flavors and colors. So for this design, I thought, what if there were different colors of Magikarp? And what if those colors told you what stat-boosting nature it was? I think it's not only a really cool idea, but makes this variant unique and customizable to the team you want to create. Each color has a corresponding nature. Red for natures that boost attack, yellow for defense, blue is special attack, green special defense, and purple is speed. For flavors, I went with typical berry flavors and aligned them to their corresponding color. Red is spicy, blue is dry, yellow is sour, green is bitter, and purple is sweet. For this design, I rounded out the fins and crown and did the same with the scales. I kept the classic Magikarp expression and made it look slightly transparent and gummy. For the shiny, I went with white because of mystery flavored candies. You won't know the nature of a shiny Magikarp until you catch it. I wanted Magikarp to have some moves that further help with the gimmick and team customization, so each color gets a new pool of moves to choose from. As an example, red will get a pool of physical moves and so on, with each corresponding color. I really like how this turned out. He's so gummy looking and a great example of a fairy type. I don't know if I want him as a Pokemon or if I just want gummy Magikarp candies. Here's looking at you, Pokemon. The ball is in your court now. But I digress. Of course, the next Pokemon was a bit more challenging to do, so here it is. Gyarados, the gummy Pokemon. When it came to redesigning Gyarados, I didn't know exactly how I would make it gummy, but I knew I wanted to make it the same for when all the colors of Magikarp evolve. Since it would be a lot to keep up with a bunch of different colored Gyarados, I decided a singular design was the way to go. So of course, I made it a rainbow gummy. No matter the nature, your gummy Magikarp will evolve into a rainbow rope Gyarados. I kept the scales on the back rounded and used the already segmented body when making it rainbow. The sections of Gyarados' body divided evenly by 3, so each color is 3 segments total. I wanted to give it a softer expression, but they all looked weird, so I just focused on changing other elements as much as I could, such as the head crest. I still wanted it to be recognized as a Gyarados since it's a regional variant, so I tried not to change too much as far as the overall look went. For the shiny, a simple palette swap seemed the way to go, and I think it came together quite nicely. For the signature ability, I went with Sugar Rush. Every time your Gyarados does damage, it raises its speed. Only found in regions that have reached idyllic peace, it is unheard of outside of those regions. I really like Magikarp and Gyarados' redesigns. I think all of the Pokemon in this video are great candidates for fairy typing, but Magikarp and Gyarados are probably the top of the list for me. What do you guys think? Do you like the new gimmick for my regional Magikarp? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And that concludes my month of fairy challenges. I've learned a lot this month about making YouTube videos and designing Pokemon, and I can't wait to put my new skills to the test. Starting next month, I will be unveiling my new region called the Usana region. I've been working on this region for a few years now, and I'm super excited to share it with all of you. So starting next month, I hope to keep a 2 videos a month pattern where I do one of my region, and the second video each month will be a challenge video. I'm also wanting to do a fan redraw in the future, so follow me on Reddit or Instagram to submit your Fakemon. Thanks again for watching my channel, and don't forget to leave a comment to let me know what you think, and leave a like if you liked the video. If you aren't subscribed, you might miss out on more awesome content, and if you are, hit that notification bell so you get updates on new videos. Until next time!